Hello guys, so welcome back to this video tutorial. And in the last video tutorial we were able to create this form. Okay, we did this container with the image, and then we were able to do some simple validation on our test form field. Okay, so we know that this validation will only show up if there is no value inside. So if I enter something here and then press the end, press the add here, you see that this error is gone. Okay, so that's the simple validation we did. We want to make sure that it's not empty, but then you can do further validation. I think I'm not going to cover that, or maybe later we will add some validation inside. Okay, so what we are going to do, we ended here where we were able to create our food object. Okay, using the food model inside here. Where is that code? Inside this one. Okay, the food model here. Okay, so this is different from the scope model. Okay, this model is different from the scope model. This is the model how the food item is supposed to be. Okay, and when we did that, we surrounded this button, our add food item button here, to okay, we surrounded it with the scope model descendant so that we can get access to this method which is coming from the scope model, which is this side, so that we can get access to this method. Okay, so we surrounded our button with the scope model descendant, and then we were able to get this method. So after creating this food object, we were able to pass it here, and then we accept it here. Okay, inside here. Okay, and now we can add it to this list. Okay, but this is not inside the database yet, so we created the Firebase database here last time, and then we came to copy this. Okay, this URL, and then with this one, what we want to do is now, instead of getting data. Okay, previous tutorials we were able to get data from our PHP database, and I said I'm not going to do that again, but we are going to use Firebase, but we are still using the web APIs of Firebase, so that anyone with any other web API, let's say Node.js API or PHP API, can use that same logic or strategy in working with Flutter. Okay, so when I come, I'm going to comment this code here, and then inside here, um, I'm going to do http.post. I'm going to do a post. Okay, and inside here, I'm going to paste this code here. Okay, so in a sense, we are trying to say we want to post to this. Okay, to this URL. But then when we come into the Firebase, we have to create nodes. Okay, so like you add node here, you add nodes here. Okay, but these nodes that we want to add, we don't want to create them from here like we do in the Android database or Firebase database. Okay, but what we want to do here is to create an endpoint here for, let's say, foods. Okay, and this foods, we know that the endpoint, I mean the extension, okay, of the API is what in the JSON form. Okay, so the JSON. Okay, so when we do this, when we post to this side, it will automatically create food nodes here. Okay, so with this one, we also have to specify the body, and then the body refers to the data that we are passing to. Okay, when you are passing or posting data to Firebase web APIs, okay, they have to be in the form of a map. Okay, and then in the map you convert that into a JSON form. Okay, you convert that into a JSON form. So you put that map here. Let me just map here. But first, let's do something. We are receiving the value here, which is the food. Okay, and the food contains the title, the category, the description, the price, and then the discount. Okay, so we have to find a way, create a map here. Let's just do that, and then string dynamic, and let's say food data. Okay, so we are just giving it that name, and this is how you create a map. So this map, you are saying that we the the type is going to be, I mean, the string, the key is going to be a string, okay, and then the value can be dynamic, where we can we can add an integer or um, float, string, or anything. So we know that we have the food title, okay, so this is the key, and then the value that we want is the food dot title here. Sorry, food dot name, because we didn't actually change it there inside the model. Okay, and then we also want the description. Okay, and inside we can go ahead with this, and we also have the category. Okay, and we can just go ahead with category, and then we also want the price. Okay, and inside we also want the discount. Okay, and you can go ahead with this one. Okay, so when we do that, when we post, this is going to create all the fields. It will create this endpoint called foods, okay, and it will create all these fields inside the endpoint. Okay, so we have these values that we want to post to this. So now when we come here, we are going to put this food data inside here, because we have to encode. Okay, before you send it to the the endpoint, the endpoint, you have to encode it. So you use the JSON dot encode, and you assign this food data. So if you're wondering where the JSON dot encode is coming, it's coming from this, which is the import dot convert. Okay, it's coming from there. So we are converting the map into a JSON form, and then we are posting to this. When we post, okay, when we post to this, we are going to receive something from a response from Firebase. Okay, so we want to also save that response. So fine, now let's create a response, a response variable to keep that. Okay, so you will receive a response here, and then we know that this is going to the response that will return will be in the form of a future value. So we have to await. Okay, but then you can't use await just like that. Before you use await, you have to make sure that you use the async on your method here. So I think now it's okay, and let's just go ahead and try something. Let's try to print the response that we get. Okay, let's see if this works. So print, and then we can go ahead and print the response. Response. Okay, so we can go ahead and see if you are getting any feedback from our Firebase. So let's try something. Okay, let's say rice, and then inside here we can say solid, maybe something yeah, solid foods. Okay, solid foods, that's okay. This is just rice, something like that. And here we can give it, let's say 25. Okay, and then inside here we can also give a discount of, let's say 10%. Okay, so let's see if it works. So when we did, we get an instant of response. Okay, so that means something returned to us. So let's check our database and see. So now you can see that the endpoint is created, which is food. When we open, we can see we are getting our data inside the inside our database, or okay, our Firebase database. So that's how we post into the Firebase. Okay, when you check here, you see that this thing was created, this ID was created. Okay, which signify that, oh, okay, this ID has these values. Okay, which has this category, this description, and all that. So that is, we want to also save that ID in our model, our food item. So let me check if we did that previously. I come here. Okay, you see that we have a string of ID, so we want to get that ID and then save it inside the food item. Okay, inside the food item that we pass to this side. Okay, we pass the food item to this, but we want to now also save that ID. So let's just go ahead and see what we can do. So with this one we can also create let's say I can go ahead and let's create a string response data. Okay, response data, because we also have to decode what we are receiving because it's in the form of JSON. Okay, and then we decode it to response. Okay, your response. Okay, so we are receiving the response here. I don't know why it's showing okay, sorry. The response that will come from the is returned from the Firebase is in the form of a map. Okay, just as we pass a map to it, what we are also receiving is also a map. So let's just go ahead and do that. Dynamic. Okay, I still don't know why I'm getting this error. Oh, sorry. So response.body, we want the body, sorry. So we want the body of this. Okay, so now I can print this and let's see, we can go ahead and check what is inside the response data. But to get this ID, okay, inside the node here is the key for this ID is the name. Okay, so when I go here and now check name, I should see that ID returned to me. So let's just quickly add something else. Let's just change the values. This. Okay, and then change something here to 30. I think this okay. So let me just save everything again, and then let's check our database, our console, and see what we get. So I press, and you can see that we are getting the ID coming here. Okay, and that is M43. So when we check, we can see M43 is coming here. So with this ID now, we can now recreate our food object which we pass. We can now recreate this food object. Okay, and now pass the ID to it. Okay, so where is it? Okay, so when we come here, we can now, let me just, I don't want to comment it. So with this one, we can now go ahead and create a food object. So food, okay, and we can create a food object here. How is this thing showing an error? Oh, okay, yeah, we can have it the same name. So we can say food with ID. Okay, and inside here we can pass the ID here, and then we have to, let me just copy this code here, because this is what is giving us the ID, and paste it here. And now we can go ahead with the name and just do the same thing, food name. Okay, go ahead with the description, food description, and then go ahead with the category, food category, and then we can go ahead with the discount. Discount here, food discount, and we can go ahead with the price, food price. Okay, so I think now it's okay. So what we are doing is, instead of just assigning it to the list, before we assign it to the list, we want to add the ID to it. Okay, before we assign it to the list. So after doing this, then we can now go ahead and copy this code. Let me just copy this code here and I'll comment it. Okay, so we can now just go ahead and add this food with ID. Yeah. Okay, so now this will be added to our list. So we post to our endpoint Firebase. Okay, and then after posting to our database, we get a response which comes with the ID that we want, and then we recreate this object again, and then now we pass it to our food list. Okay, so this is basically it. So let's just try it once again, and let's see what we get. Let me just go ahead and delete all this. I don't Okay, and then let's try again. Let me print the list of foods. Okay, print, and let's print foods. Foods here. Okay, and let's try again. Let me save and try again. Let's see what we are getting inside our console. Let's try again. Okay, so I'm getting an instant of food. Okay, so I can just go ahead and decide to check if I'm getting the first one, and I'm trying to get, let's say, discount or something, and then let me try again. Let's see. So we should get, I think now you can see we have two instances of food here, because inside our database here we also have two instances of food. But I wanted to see, oh, I didn't save it. Okay, so now let's try again, because I want to see the category. Yeah, now you can see the discount coming here, which is fine. So we have our food items saved inside our database, and at the same time saved inside our list. Okay, so we will continue in the next tutorial, and where we will have to fetch everything from the database. Okay, like we are fetching it here. Okay, and then displaying. Okay, let me just go ahead. Let me just actually, let me look at the time. Okay, we can just go ahead, fetch, and then let's quickly fetch. Okay, let's quickly fetch the whole thing again. So if you want to fetch, then we have to now change this from that, and we have to fetch from this endpoint. Okay, so let me just copy and then paste that one here. Oh, sorry, I just copied the whole thing again. Let me come here, copy, and then paste that code here. And then as we are fetching, we know that we are, okay, like we did before, we have the response here, and then we do this and that. Okay, so that is coming. All right, now here we are not going to use, let's first check the data that we are receiving. Let me just comment this whole code. Okay, let me check. This is the response that we are getting. This is the food item. Because I want to check, what I want to do is to check the response that we are getting. So let's print this. Okay, fetch data. Okay, and let me save. So to see what we are actually fetching, we have to change this, because you know that we are not supposed to use this screen. We are supposed to use the customer screen. So I'll go to the app. Okay, and I'll uncomment this code here, and then comment this code here, and then let's save and see what we get. And then we get a problem. So let's see what is the problem. Let me check. Okay, So field assessing, asset is not true line this. Let me see. Oh, okay, so we don't have any value inside this. Okay, that's fine. Let me just go back to the food model here. Let me stop the application, rerun the application and see what we are getting. It's good that you are seeing the error so that we fix the error together. This thing will take some time to run, so we are going to this endpoint, okay, and that's good because that's the same endpoint that we post to, so we are fetching from the same endpoint, okay. And then as we fetch from the same endpoint, let me just try and see if this will give us something in the browser. I want to see the data that is coming. Let's see if it will give us something in the browser. Okay, so when you check in the browser, you can see that we are getting all the values. Let me increase the size here, so you can see we are getting all the values returned to us, and inside here we have the ID and is values. Okay, so we pasted the whole, we posted the whole thing, the same thing over and over to the database, so we are seeing the same values, but that's okay. So that's giving us what we want, okay, but this thing is taking time. You know what, okay, it's coming up. So when we print that value, we want to see the same data, okay, but I will stop. The screen is still not coming up, I don't know, but I will stop the video here and we'll continue in the next tutorial. Okay, thank you.